Clara's car coughed, sputtered, and finally died in the driveway of her new home. The old Victorian house loomed over her, a silhouette against the darkening sky. It was perfect. Rustic charm, she thought, a steal for the price. As she dragged her suitcase up the creaking porch steps, a shiver ran down her spine. The house felt cold, unwelcoming, but it was hers. The first night was the hardest. Wind howled outside, rattling the old windows. Clara huddled deeper into her blankets, trying to ignore the creaking and groaning of the house settling around her. Then she heard it, a whisper, faint, almost indistinguishable, coming from the wall beside her bed. Her heart pounded in her chest. She strained to hear, but the sound was gone. Just the wind, she told herself. Just the wind. Morning brought a fragile sense of relief. Sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, chasing away the shadows of the night. Clara made her way downstairs, determined to embrace the day. That's when she saw them. Scratches. Deep, jagged gouges in the wooden floor beneath the window. They hadn't been there before. A cold dread settled in her stomach. The whispers hadn't been a figment of her imagination. Something was wrong. The second night, the whispers returned, louder this time, more insistent. They seemed to claw their way out from the walls, wrapping around her like icy fingers. Clara lay frozen in her bed, paralyzed by fear. They spoke of sorrow, of anger, of something dark and hungry lurking within the very walls of the house. Sleep, when it finally came, was filled with nightmares. Desperate for answers, Clara called an exterminator. Maybe it was just rodents, she thought, trying to rationalize the scratching sounds. The exterminator, a grizzled old man with haunted eyes, took one look at the scratches and shook his head. "This ain't no animal, ma'am," he muttered, his voice low. "You best be careful in this house. Some things they ain't meant to be disturbed." And with that he left, leaving Clara alone with her fear. Driven by a morbid curiosity and a desperate need for answers, Clara ventured into the attic. It was a space forgotten by time, filled with cobwebs and the musty scent of decay. A single tarnished mirror stood against the far wall, its surface shrouded in shadow. As she stepped closer, she could feel a cold presence emanating from it, sending shivers down her spine. The whispers intensified, urging her closer. Clara raised a trembling hand and wiped away the dust from the mirror's surface. For a moment, she saw only her own reflection, her face pale and drawn with fear. Then other faces began to appear alongside hers. Grotesque, distorted visages with hollow eyes and mouths frozen in silent screams. They reached out towards her, their icy fingers scraping against the glass. Clara stumbled back, her heart pounding in her chest. But it was too late. The mirror pulsed with an eerie light, and the faces within seemed to swell, their screams growing louder, more desperate. Clara tried to turn away, to escape the horrifying spectacle, but an unseen force held her captive. The room around her dissolved into a swirling vortex of darkness, and she could feel herself being pulled forward, drawn inexorably towards the mirror's surface. With a deafening crack, Clara was consumed by the mirror. Her scream died in her throat, replaced by the triumphant chorus of the trapped souls within. The mirror returned to its former stillness, the only evidence of Clara's fate, a faint, lingering whisper that echoed through the empty attic. The house by the woods had claimed another victim, her voice added to the symphony of sorrow that haunted its walls.